This is RiverTalks with Jonathan Brush, President and CEO of Unbound.
I want to suggest a different idea for your consideration, and I want to suggest it carefully. And what I mean by that is I think it's a powerful idea. I think it's an important idea. And I think it's an idea that you ought to consider, but I'm not suggesting that it carries some sort of moral weight. That, in other words, this is the way to do things and it's better than other ways. So that's an important caveat that'll make sense here in a minute. Just don't get confused. I'm suggesting something to consider. I'm not suggesting something that is necessary, like, you really have to take this into account. If you don't, you've done something wrong in some fashion. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that there are often cases in life where being rooted by being connected to a place and spending and investing time in that place, and I mean time measured in decades, is very likely to be more powerful than being advanced by moving up in particularly careers. And here's what I'm reacting to. The accepted wisdom of the day is that the thing that is most important for you to measure your worth is your income and your position. And your position meaning your position in a career. And so you would make all decisions in your life based on these factors. You will decide what kind of educational process you will go through. You will decide how much you spend on that education. You will decide what kind of credentials you earn. You will decide where you move to get that first job. All based on career decisions, all based on where you can make money and where you can get a job doing what it is that you have trained to do, that you build this thing called a career, that you will then, when you take that job, you will gain experience and you will gain knowledge and you will advance, you'll move up. And when the opportunity comes, you will, without questioning, move to follow the next opportunity that comes along. A position in another company, a promotion that has you move away, a calling, an opportunity that arises. And that is sort of the unquestioned wisdom, that's what you do. You get a job, you get a better job, you get a better job. Each of those jobs perhaps requires a move, and you keep moving and relocating and adjusting and pulling to a new company to move up the ladder. Now, here's where my warning from the beginning is important. I'm not suggesting that process is wrong. I'm certainly not suggesting that it's morally wrong in any fashion. I'm not even suggesting that it's a bad idea or that it's not a good and effective way to make a difference in the world, to live a life where you can thrive. So hear that clearly. I'm not condemning that. I'm merely suggesting that there's another factor to take into place here. I want to share a story. There are some folks that I know who did that, went to school, got an advanced degree in a field where there was a lot of opportunity, got a job and a placement, and went to work there, and professionally was doing quite well, but personally wasn't doing so great. Was living in a place that they felt isolated, that their family felt like there wasn't a lot of connection to the community. And at one point came back, and this man and his wife had a discussion and said, look, wait a second. We know a place to live where there's a tremendous amount of extended family, that there's a community that we're a part of, and that there's a church that is really important to us, that's the church that this young man grew up in, and that has this wonderful community around it. And all the things that we care about, they're really based in those things: family, relationships, community, those kinds of things. So what are we doing? Why are we making a decision based on a job? What if we made a decision based on a church? So they said, okay, well, we know where there's a great church. We're going to move back there. And we're going to go to that church and be a part of that community and live close to our extended family. And we'll find a job. And if it's in our career field, if it's in my career field, that's fine. And if not, I'll find something else to do. So that's what they did. They quit the job. They moved back to the community. And it turned out that there was space in that community for the kinds of professional skills that he had. It wasn't easy at first. And at first he had to do a little bit of a longer commute. And then it turned out that he was able to open up a division of his profession closer in. And then ultimately he kind of got to have his cake and eat it too. It was part of this community, but it was also being able to do the kinds of things that he was trained to do professionally. And so that paid out as well. It doesn't always work out that way, of course, but here's the part that I was struck by, and here's the part that I want to suggest to you. That part where they paused and said, "What are we using as criteria to make this decision?" And when they said, "Well, wait a second, what's really important to us is not the job, it's the community, it's the church, it's the family. We'll make a decision based on that." Now, go back to my warning. I'm not suggesting that if you're moving for a job or if you've done that, or if your family done that, there's anything wrong with that. I'm merely asking this question. I'm presenting this question to you. When you're thinking about where you live, what you do, and the circumstances of your life, be bold enough to think about that in terms greater than your career. Think about family, extended family, relationships, community, connections, church, and don't disregard them as possibly absolutely essential criteria that you use to make decisions of location. That there is something uniquely powerful about being rooted in a community where those relationships, those family connections, that church involvement develops and deepens and grows over years measured in decades. And that there's rarely a paycheck or even a position of influence in a company that can compensate in quite the same way.